man, what a mouthful. And actually, we're off already, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's another day with another rando. I'm Marjevich. Joining me today is Dude. How many dudes do you prefer?
That was about the right amount. We start off with an easy 20 rupees.
Well, this is retro, so they're gonna need to acquire quite a lot of rupees over the course of this run.
Yeah, big difference in retro mode is that there's been a couple of changes made to make it a bit more similar to the original Legend of Zelda, one of which is that arrows cost rupees to fire. There are no regular arrows anymore. You also need to buy your arrows in the shop before you can even shoot the bow.
We'll also need to spend some rupees to acquire some keys so that you can actually progress, because the keys are not bound to the dungeons any longer.
Yep. It's kinda sorta like Insanity, except the keys are completely generic. Any key you buy or find can be used in any of the dungeons. Well, except the big keys, those are still dungeon specific.
And since this is hard mode, 15 keys have been removed.
Yeah, from the default pool of, I want to say 28 or so.
Yeah, I don't know the exact number there. I believe they were all replaced by 5 rupees.
I'm not certain how they've been replaced by, actually, but yeah, the big difference is, especially in hard mode, you're probably going to have to buy a couple extra keys to make it through the seeds, so finding those red rupees everywhere is a little bit more valuable than it normally would be.
Yeah, and it also makes Houlihan a bit of a better strategy, since you can pick up those 225 rupees there.
Yep, that's 2 free keys, basically. It starts off with a fairly standard opening here, and I do believe, due to it being standard retro, 1 small key is guaranteed to be in a chest somewhere in the escape sequence, just to make it always possible to complete.
Yeah, otherwise there would be a soft lock situation, and I don't think they would program that in.
Otherwise, the keys are pretty much free for all.
You can spend them and choose to spend them wherever you want them to.
I also noticed that, never mind, both of our runners now have R-Bomb, which, as always, is important in standard, because you want to be able to check those 3 chests in the back of Escape as soon as possible. You don't want to have to make your way back.
Of course, you may not be as hopeful to actually want to spend the 50 rupees buying bombs, since you may need those bombs to actually buy keys instead.
Yep, that's also definitely true. In general, you can expect our runners to go out of their way more than usual to pick up rupees on the ground, as you saw Kyong do just now.
Well, so far so good, and Trantor has to be a little bit careful here with that guard, but manages to nail him down. So Kyong92 is our leader here in this group. He is undefeated 10-0.
Yeah, well, Trantor in comparison is already up to 6 losses, I believe, so any extra losses is going to make it very difficult for him to advance the bracket, so any match is really important to him at this point.
Trantor is unfortunately at 7 losses, and because he's sitting at 5-7 and with Czech Human in the group at 9-5, Trantor cannot qualify for the next stage of the tournament.
Oh, that's really unfortunate then. Nice to do this, but still, you want to do your best in all the matches, regardless of whether they matter for the future or not.
Of course, and this match is still important for Kyong, because if he wins this match, he is guaranteed first place in this group.
Yeah, that's gonna be exciting for him. So this is an important match for Kyong in particular.
But I mean, if you're sitting on 10-0 in this group, you have to feel very confident going into this match.
Yeah, because the flip side of that is if he gets to 11 wins, he's also pretty much guaranteed to lock in, and just 1 more win out of these remaining 5 matches is good enough. But you'd always rather get those in earlier rather than later.
Yes, indeed. We are moving towards the end of this group stage, and these matches are going to start to matter more and more.
Definitely. Like the farther in we get, the more important any individual match becomes.
Meanwhile, standard escape, standard as standard can be.
Yep, especially since we are playing uncolored shirts, so but for runners just started off with sword immediately.
And that one bomb decides to not throw it, just place it there just to make sure that it's gonna land.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do if you have just a single bomb is waste it, and we found another 3 bombs, which is going to be really convenient for checking Kakariko, because that's the exact amount of bombs you need there.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. There is that race scheme, so one more bomb for that if that's something that's value there.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I forgot about that one.
And some players just skip it and hope that there's nothing there. Or to get boots.
Okay.
And sword.
Yeah, this being hard mode, I believe the cape is a bit more expensive to use than it normally would be.
Yeah, it does consume twice as much magic, with the exception of those rooms that per logic requires the cape.
It looked like we had 3 crystals over in the light world here, with one of the 5-6 crystals being at Eastern Palace.
And this is an old dungeon siege, so they will still need to find those pendants though.
And it being old dungeons and retro also is a pretty good indicator. It's also going to make those buying those keys more valuable than it even otherwise would be in any given retro siege.
Absolutely, and we do have some of these extra houses. I'm about to take some time to explain how these work here.
Yeah, most of the houses and a couple of the shops are replaced with different inventories, or in the case of the houses, with possible take any cave, where you can pick between a couple different rewards. I believe a heart container or a sword is the usual pick, but I'm not super familiar with the game modes, but do expect our runners to be entering a bunch of entrances you normally wouldn't see.
It's a heart container or a blue potion, but one of them will have a free sword upgrade. And since this is hard mode where there are fewer heart containers, they are quite a bit more valuable here.
Yeah, because I believe, due to the way retro works, you actually can possibly end up with more heart containers than you would be able to on a regular hard mode seed.
I do believe that is the case. Tree pulls today being first single bombs and then 5 rupees. Not the worst thing to see here.
Yeah, no. I believe the single bombs were actually the tier 3 tree pull rewards, because Kyong actually made it through the entire tier of escape, killing more than 4 enemies and never getting hit. Which is quite the accomplishment in itself. And there's one of the take any's. That's the reasons why people are, why our runners are entering various houses, because you can get free stuff.
I mean, a free heart container, not gonna say no to that. And here's another one.
It's a very nice start, actually. I think 5 hearts already in a hard mode seed at this point is quite a rarity normally.
And moving forward to this treasure trove known as Kakariko. Lots of chests and hopefully something of value in here.
Oh, those 300 rupees are quite fine.
There's some rupees here to buy some keys and use some arrows later on. That's about it so far.
Yeah, especially with the red boomerang is normally an interesting find, but on hard mode, the stun property of the boomerangs has actually been disabled, so it's only really useful for grabbing items from afar and maybe knocking enemies away.
Yes, unfortunately the boomerang has lost that, but the hookshot does still stun though.
And we find our first bottle here in the well, which, as always, is a really convenient find when you're in Kakariko Village, because it means you can just check the sick kit while you're here.
Yeah, and you don't even have to backtrack to see kid or anything. There's our first medallion. We will need at least one medallion since this is all dungeons.
The magic powder. It's also been adjusted in hard mode, actually, because on normal difficulty seeds, what happens when you powder an anti-fairy is that it turns into a regular fairy. In hard mode, it's been reduced a bit. It only produces a regular single heart when you powder an anti-fairy. It's still useful to get them out of the way, but it's not quite the free refill it would normally be.
No, it is quite limited in this mode, but powder is still a powder, unlocks an item location later on, so you're not gonna say no to it.
And so we find our third take any cave, if you want to call it that, here in Kakariko Village.
Well, maybe it's time to buy some keys.
Yep, both forerunners are also just getting their arrow purchase out of the way, so that when they do find the bow, they're in good shape.
Yeah, you will actually need to purchase the arrows, and then you still need to find a separate bow in order to use the bow and arrow combination.
Yeah, but it's definitely worth getting them out of the way early, because it takes a bit of time to get to a shop, and you might just find the bow when you're in the middle of the Eastern Palace or Palace of Darkness, and then it's really inconvenient to have to leave that dungeon, which does require the bow, only to get back to it later. And that's the Master Sword.
Yeah, and the arrows do cost 10 rupees each, silvers do cost 50, but since this is hard, that only works onto Ganon, but that Master Sword is at this point just another indicator towards a potential Aga 1.
Yep. In between that and a bunch of other stuff, the only thing I'm missing to be able to actually do Aga 1 is the lamp.
Yeah, where is that lamp? That's the only mail upgrade in this seed, in the library.
Yep, it's on the library, which is not the most inconvenient location for it. The library can be easy to return to with either the flute or with the mirror, depending on where the items in the rest of the seed will fall. Those runners might just opt to skip it entirely.
I mean, it is hard mode, but you're already on 7 hearts here.
Yeah, I'll just say the sheer amount of take any caves that were found in Kakariko Village were really helpful for our runner's health situation.
And that's all that Kakariko gave, so Master Sword, Cape, Powder, Ether, not really what they're looking for here.
Yeah, it looks like Trenter is just going to take this opportunity to immediately go to the Houlihan room. While Kyong is doing a more standard check of the southern parts of Hyrule. Getting your Houlihan room out of the way early isn't a bad idea, because one of the easiest setups which Trenter is going for here requires you to not have to flip us. You also find the mirror.
Yeah, and also this Houlihan will just put Trenter back at Link's house again, so easily proceeds south. But yeah, the mirror. And that's another item that doesn't do anything right now, but it is going to be needed later on.
Yeah, it is. In all dungeons, the mirror will always be required just to enter Swamp Palace at some point. And possibly for some other things, but that is the absolute requirement. That's the one place that always requires the mirror in any seed.
Well, there's our lamp there in Agina's cave.
Yep, our runners are perfectly capable of doing Aghanim anytime they want now, and they do need to do so eventually due to it being all dungeons, but even so, you'd rather save doing that until you can actually do something in the Dark World, because currently you'd just be banking on the Moon Pearl being on the pyramid.
They're still missing the Moon Pearl, and Preferably you want to do Ganon's tower and then just do Aga 2 immediately and then drop down and do Ganon like that.
Yeah, definitely, because it's one of A, the most fun things to do in all dungeons, and B, it's the most optimal way of routing in Aghanim, because you travel the least distance doing it that way, and of course, it gives you a nice free refill before Ganon. But another factor to consider with regards to Aghanim's Tower is because this is a retro mode seed. There aren't guaranteed to be 2 keys in Aghanim's Tower. There might just be anything in there.
So Flute here in the Minimoldrum and Hookshot and Mirror and the Fire Source. That's Tower of Hera and essentially the entirety of Death Mountain.
Yeah, I imagine this is well, Kyong is obviously gonna straight hand in the Flute. He didn't even bother checking with the rest of the Lake Hyrule area, Lake Hylia area, which makes sense because you can Flute back there. And yeah, as you said, Death Mountain is looking really attractive at this point.
Trenter, though, is not going to save a quid at this point, and that could also be an issue if they're just going to go for this Tower of Hera early. If there is something in that basement, since he doesn't have that fire source, where's he going?
It looks like he's doubling back. Interesting choice.
Yeah, this is not a route I'm all that familiar with going to Minimoldrum Cave and then walking all the way over to Aeginas.
Yeah, I must have realized that he could very conveniently check this one cave along the way, which is just its regular vanilla ferry. Then go to Agana.
Kyong's gonna buy some keys.
And a bomb refill, apparently. Yeah, those keys are important.
Now, I don't think Kyong checked here what was on the ledge. And there is the Moon Pearl, actually.
Ooh. That's interesting, because that means... Well, actually, it means 2 possibilities. Either the book is in the near future, or the 2 glove upgrades are in the near future.
Is Kyong doing Aga?
He might be.
Oh my.
He might be a strong believer in just getting it out of the way early, especially with it being 2 items in there.
I mean, if he thinks the Moon Pearl is on the pyramid, he does have the hookshot to reach over to the left side, but on the other hand, he doesn't actually have an item to reach that point.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird considering they got all of that up on Death Mountain that they can do at this point.
I mean, on the one hand, yes, but on the other hand, Death Mountain is kind of locked off a little bit. Like, they can check all the light world stuff, and maybe Kyong is hoping to save... Well, that's that book for the Moon Pearl.
That's a really silly location for that book.
Yeah, it does mean that you need to basically... You kinda have the Dark World locked behind Aghanim, but not really, but... I imagine that Bed of Uranus will just complete Aghanim's Tower while they're there when picking up that book, unless there's another way with the Titan Smiths being locked somewhere to get all of them up after the Desert Ledge.
Yeah, both gloves are up on Death Mountain, that can also work out. I know, that's just a really weird spot for the book.
Yeah, it is, but it's... One of the fun things about Retro is the fact that Aghanim's Tower is a little bit more valuable than it normally would be, considering it doesn't just only have those keys you require to progress through it. And unlike regular key sanity, it isn't also locked behind finding specifically the Aghanim's Tower key, so you can usually do it much earlier.
That is true, and with this book, you will be able to check Ether Tablet when he's up on Death Mountain later.
Also means we might see some use out of these hint tiles here. Probably just the Graveyard Ledge isn't worth bothering with.
Yeah, that's some time saved at least. Meanwhile, trying to save the old man for just some money. At this point for Trenter, it depends entirely on what he's gonna find up here. How long is it gonna take for him to make the Aga 1 call?
Yeah, I imagine with him having now decided to do this, and assuming there's nothing else here, he's basically... almost convinced he's just gonna clear out the entirety of the light world before bothering with Aghanim, which again is a pretty common play.
Well, he decided to go inside of Spectacle Rock this, perhaps he may not opt to check the hint since it was just 5 rupees. Nope, decided to skip that. Let's see, it's time to count the blue balls.
And it looked like Crystal 6 was in Total Rock, and then we had our pendants in Skullwood, Stevestown, and Palace of Darkness. It's according to our tracker, and I have full faith in our tracker, the green pendant being in Palace of Darkness.
That is also what I saw.
On that note, I'd like to make a quick shout out to R Sigma. Thank you for tracking this race for us. It's always appreciated, and it's a bit of a thankless job occasionally.
Sitting behind the scenes, pushing buttons. It's harder than it looks, and Mushroom in Turtle Rock. That could be something really, really annoying later down the line.
Yeah, definitely. Aghanim is a bit, it's definitely blue balling our runners a bit here.
And the thing with Aghanim is that it isn't a difficult fight, it's just boring.
Yeah, the most difficult part about Aghanim, in my opinion, is not screwing around so much that you actually mess up and miss an energy ball.
And we see Kyong turning into the wrong mushroom.
Yeah. Also learned that some cash and some bombs are required, a big red bomb, so the 5 and 6 crystals aren't particularly valuable. We do find, ooh, that's the ice rod over on the pyramid, that's a good find.
Yeah, that is absolutely required, the seed. And always great to get that ice rod out of the way since you will not have to go and look for that later when it's time for Turtle Rock.
Yeah, and it actually routes in pretty well for Kyong, because if you find another way of getting into the Dark World that isn't Aghanim, checking the pyramid is a little bit out of the way usually.
Especially nowadays when the common route is to start in Hype Cave and go west.
Yeah. Let's see. We'll take 3 spins for Trenta to defeat Molong. Oh no, that's unfortunate.
It's one of those days. Kyong is also now gonna make the trip up to Death Mountain.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Kyong didn't check what was on the Desert Ledge earlier, so while he does have access to the Moon Pearl through Desert Palace, he's gonna check this more item-dense location first. And looks like Trent accidentally got a poke in, so good, he still finishes off Moldon.
Yeah, Moldon's gonna fall, Trentor's gonna be done with his first crystal, his first dungeon. And a reason for delaying the desert here is also that it's a crystal, it's also a dungeon, so you have to beat it regardless. But you may not be able to do so without the boots, and of course the lack of gloves.
But it looks like Trentor is opting to skip the Hera basement for now.
Yeah, it's a long time. Did he find the map and the compass?
That's something I did not keep track of while he was in there, unfortunately, so he might have not found one of them and figured out that way that the basement isn't worth bothering with.
Yeah, that would make sense, but I guess we're gonna find out in due time. But we're gonna see Kyong check this hint here. And that's a really valuable hint, knowing that there is nothing of value over in the west side of Swamp.
Yeah, that's easily made taking the slight time to pick up the item here worth it. That was a really nice bomb jump there, because that one's actually rather finicky.
It's a bomb jump that for longest time was never done, and now it's sort of become a new standard to perform. And the hammer is over here in the east side of Death Mountain.
Yep, that's a very important find. The hammer is after the Moon Pearl, the item that unlocks the most locations in the game by far, it being required for 4 out of 7 of the Dark World dungeons.
To see the tablet is important, it's not so. Unfortunately, Kyong isn't gaining anything there.
Yeah, nothing but he's getting nothing but the solace that he doesn't have to go back to the Ether tablet later.
A position that's likely going to be orphaned by Trenter for quite some time.
Yeah, though thankfully that early mirror does mean it's easier to check it later if necessary.
Trenter's just taking the slow walk here through Spiral Cave.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate walk, but it's always worth taking while you're here.
You got to open this chest.
That was a pretty interesting spin setup. It's a shame it hit the crystal switch side twice there on Kyong's side.
Well, Trenter is running out of locations. Gonna bring out the flute. Gonna buy some keys, maybe, again.
He's gonna use that hammer and the powder to check out what the bat has for us today.
That is the most recent progression for him.
Yeah, and if you do get those items early, it's often worth a quick check to the bat, because it might be a sign that something valuable is hiding for you, and in Trenter's mind, it might just be the book that he needs for the Moon Pearl.
I mean, if there are gloves here, then that does mean he can skip out on making the Aga 1 call early.
Nah. Problem there is, unless he finds a second pair of gloves, he's still gonna have to make the Aga 1 call just to get the Moon Pearl.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Kyong's time here on Moldor, no problem at all.
Yeah, that's very smooth.
And Trenter is still skipping out on desert here, heading towards the eastern area.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad check, and that doesn't surprise me. Like, the thing is, Trenter needs to go into Aga Tower to pick up the book to be able to do anything in the desert, but he doesn't want to go into Aga Tower early because, well, as you mentioned earlier, in all dungeons you usually want to leave that as the final thing you do before Ganon.
Yeah, my head is for some reason just stuck in the fact that he already has the book, but he doesn't, of course, because it's the Aga Tower.
Yeah, and checking Eastern Palace here, and of course Agnes, well, not Agnes, Sadrala's place isn't a bad call. There's a lot of items here. It's not super time consuming to have to backtrack to Eastern Palace compared to a lot of other dungeons.
I mean, in Trenter's mind, knowing where the Moon Pearl is may just lead me to believe that this is not an Aga 1 this early on, so that can be done later. And Kyong here, very low, is actually gonna buy a heart in this shop.
Yeah, it's not a bad call. Since it's very little as time consuming in A Link to the Past isn't dying on the overworld.
Well, it's time to see if Eastern Palace is gonna have anything of value here for Trenter.
Yep. On the positive side, even in Retro, the Eastern Palace is a key neutral dungeon. You can pick up as many keys from the enemies and other stuff here as you can as you spend on doors, because there are no keys in chests normally in Eastern Palace.
That is indeed true. And Trenter does have the hook shop, so he can skip that entire room here. And since Kyong didn't do the basement either, I'm just gonna assume there was a map or a compass there.
Yeah, it's pretty likely at this point, because it would be a very strange coincidence for both of our runners to just make the same skip. It's not that it doesn't happen, but...
Generally, the basement still tends to be checked, especially if you're still looking for something very important in this situation. Kyong is looking for the Moon Pearl, Trentor is looking for a way to get the Moon Pearl. The Center and Eastern, well, sorry, I already checked that.
Yeah, that's something Trenton would have liked to learn a little bit earlier than he did.
And Kyong is done up here on Death Mountain.
Yep, we could go check the Magic Band right now, or we could go into Desert Palace, and that's about it when it comes to stuff that's currently in logic for him.
There's also this Haswala Eastern that Trentor is doing.
Ah, that's true. Yeah, you are correct there. And in this case is where you confuse the overall stage of what we've both seen compared to what the runners have seen.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing here, is you get in that mood as a commentator where you think that the players have the same amount of information as we do, but they don't. It's easy to be confused, but Eastern doesn't have anything today.
Nope, and Trentor is at this point running very low on options.
I think he may just have Aga 1 left. Or maybe there's something more. Sequence break to Sora? Check Ice Rod Cave first?
Yeah, I think Trentor didn't check Ice Rod Cave earlier. Kyong did, though. So yeah, Kyong could check the Eastern Palace and such. He might actually be going for that, looking where he just floated to. Or he's checking the stuff, the shop here.
And jumping and checking the island as well.
Just 5 rupees there.
Of course, buy some more keys, because why not?
Can never have too many keys. Well, that's a total lie. You can totally have too many keys. In fact, you shouldn't buy too many of them because it's money just going to waste. But yeah, it looks like Trent is opting to do a quick fake flipper setup here.
Yeah, the bomb does perfectly position yourself. You can just jump off and then just do the screen transition to get the fake flipper.
Yep, and well, they don't have the Moon Pearl, so they can't actually check the Waterfall Ferry. They can check Zora and the Hobo right now.
Zora's a big investment in this mode though. 500 rupees is 5 keys for 50 arrows.
Yeah, and you might not get anything good back. It's relatively common for runners to, in retro, to actually go to Zora, buy the item, and if it turns out to be worthless, to just reset. But that does mean you have to keep careful track of when you last saved and quit. You do not want to lose a ton of progress to that.
Absolutely, and we do see Kyong skipping out on Eastern, sees the Moon Pearl on the ledge. It's gonna go into Desert.
Yep, that's going to open up the seed quite a bit for him, because with the hookshot and hammer already in hand, most of the non-Dead Mountain Dark World is open to him right now.
Yeah, it's plenty of options from that Hyrule Castle portal into the Dark World. And Trenter realizes he cannot check the Waterfall Ferry here.
Tempered Sword over in Desert Palace, that's a very nice find.
Yeah, that's the highest quality sword that's available on hard mode.
Yeah, because the hard mode doesn't actually have the full amount of swords in the item pool, but one of them will, once you've got the Tempered Sword, be replaced by 20 rupees.
Yes, indeed. So, what do we have on the torch today? Will be the big key, of course.
Yeah.
And I missed what Zora had.
Zora had 3 bombs for sale, so that wasn't worth it.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree on that.
Yeah, we will be requiring the boost to be able to beat Desert Palace. And due to Desert Palace being a crystal, we know one place the boots cannot be.
They cannot be in Ganon's tower.
Yeah. Which is sort of a relief in a way.
But they can still be from the mushroom from Turtle Rock. Kyong's got the Moon Pearl, Trenter's gonna do the Aga 1, get the book.
In fact, looking at the pendant layout, we actually know for a fact already that none of the items, there will be no required progression items in Ganon's Tower, so that's a bit of a relief for our runners.
You are very much correct, but there's a good amount of items that can be on the pedestal, but I guess we can talk about that at a later time.
Yeah, it's too many items to start listing right now. It's not super important until we're starting to run low on options. And Trenta finds the book and soldiers on through Aghanim's Tower, which of course makes sense. You've already partly made your way through here. You might as well finish it while you're there.
Yeah, I mean, even with the book, what are the chances of finding gloves over in desert?
Mm-hmm.
So we have this hype cave, which doesn't tend to be very hype nowadays, and yeah.
Yeah, it's true to form. It gave us like 4/5 or 2/5 of a key or something.
Some bombs. Needless to say, not very exciting. And is Kyong heading down to Bombo's tablet?
He might be. Guess it is. It is along the way here, so kind of.
I mean, I remember the very first match I commentated, Power Gloves on Bombo's tablet.
Yeah, I personally see it more often as the bombs tablet.
Yeah, it tends to often be bombs on the Bombo's tablet.
Yeah, it's just 5 rupees this time.
About as valuable as 3 rupees in Kyong's position. Well, is he going to go back over to East or going into Swamp? Just check the hint?
Yeah, that's I mean, he's right here. It's a heads up play. It's also wise to remember that you shouldn't flood the swamp house before doing so if you don't have to flip us.
Unique item in Mire. Well, that's a lot of items.
Yeah, there's a lot of possible items there. We do know it can't be whatever Medallion Misery Mire itself needs, but that doesn't really say that much.
It also can't be the mushroom.
Yeah, but pretty much anything else is possibly there. Well, it can't be glove upgrades, of course, either, but I don't think those are even unique items.
And since this is retro, there is no single arrow. It could be the boots hint.
It could be, yeah.
It would be pretty convenient to get the boots in Mire and then just mirror and do desert.
Yeah, it would be quite that would be quite a nice bit of routing if the game allows for it.
Meanwhile, Trenter here on the Aga 1 fight should be finished with that soon.
Yeah, we're just gonna see the digging game, or possibly a bit of arrow game, which isn't a bad investment in retro, and it's gained in popularity a lot with retro being a thing now, and it's fairly simple to do what Kyong is doing right here. It's just a simple bit of timing, just wait for the right visual cue, shoot your arrow.
Yeah, it's had a big surge in popularity, not only in retro, but also in inverted as an early way of getting some rupees.
Yeah, especially because in the first in particular, the Dark World is quite money hungry compared to the Light World.
I mean, this digging game here costs 80 rupees.
Yeah, you do usually make the money back if you do enough digging, but still a nice upfront investment. There's our first glove, which is definitely a pretty convenient spot to find it, actually.
Yeah, but what does the gloves open up at this point?
By itself, not that much, in fact, but it's still important to find it sooner rather than later.
It opens up Catfish, Sora, but we know Sora has nothing though, but Catfish is a thing.
It'll be interesting to see what Kyong opts to do with... it does look like he's headed straight for Catfish, and he might opt to just do that with a check of Zora immediately too. And since he recently saved and quit, if neither of them give anything good, he might just opt to reset afterwards.
Well, he did go up here and buy a key, so maybe he is still going to just do a regular reset after.
Yeah, so far there's been 3 shops found already that sell keys, so it's not too difficult to find, to re-buy those if necessary.
Yeah, and with one being in Kakariko and they have access to the flute, not that difficult to get there. Well, Sora wasn't very helpful. Is the other fish a bit more helpful? Not really. Gonna see Trent pick up the Tempered Sword. We'll soon get the Moon Pearl.
Yep, and he'll be in the same position as Kyong already was, but the only way to the Dark World clearly being to go through the gates of Hyrule Castle.
Yeah, until he manages to find those gloves. And I'm just gonna find here that the key is in fact on the torch.
Yep, and meanwhile Kyong will see 3 bombs, and I think he's just saving and quitting.
Almost 500 rupees down the drain, but it seems perfectly fine at this point.
Yeah, with 6 keys already in hand, and I believe plenty to still be found out in the world, Kyong isn't in bad shape when it comes to keys, and a bit of a runner's already bought the wooden arrows too, so they don't have to worry about that expense either.
Absolutely. We're gonna see Trenter now with the Moon Pearl ready to head into the Dark World. Kyong's gonna take this portal here. Kakariko possibly check the pedestal before doing that?
Maybe. Could also at this point see wanting to save a pedestal check until after you can complete Skullwoods, just banking on the fact that it definitely isn't a fire rod in there.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Fire rod is the only thing that's missing for Skullwoods.
Yep, and with Skullwoods being a pendant, it's the one item that definitely can't be on the pedestal.
Yes, indeed. We're gonna see Trenter also making the call to go down to Hype Cave first. Just came of disappointments.
At least they made the money back.
Yeah, that's always something at least.
Yeah, probably going to see a straight up clear of Thieves Town while here, because again, it's all dungeons. All these dungeons have to be completed sooner or later anyway, and there's nothing stopping Kyong from fully clearing this particular dungeon.
Yeah, has the hammer, so no reason to have to return later for something.
Yep, and both of the runners are in pretty good shape for just clearing the dungeon with little problems. It's enough hard containers to have a bit of safety here.
And while Trenter will be skipping out checking the hint in Swamp, and Bombo's tablet will go up and get those gloves from the digging game.
Yeah, that's a very valuable find. It'll make the rest of the Dark World exploration a little bit more convenient, just due to having more entry points.
We have really good overworld traversal as well, with the flute, the mirror.
Yeah, it's actually I always rather enjoy it when a seed gives those particular items early, because it just makes traversing through the game a lot more enjoyable, even without the boots.
Kyong there, skipping picking up the small key in that hallway before blind, but can always pick it up later.
Yeah, it's if you already have plenty of keys like you do here, it makes sense to just leave that until you hand in and you go to fight blind anyway. Similar, same thing with that key here, because like you want to go up here and check the hint anyway, so.
Well, that hint wasn't very good, but those gloves are very good. And Trumper is not saving quitting here. Not going up to Catfish at this point, it looks like.
Yeah, no, he wants to just check the other stuff in the Dark World, and that's a good decision, because Catfish is nothing but a waste of time in this particular seed.
It's a long way to walk for just one item, and Trenter's already been at Sora, so it is just for one item.
Yeah, it might be a little bit more attractive for Trent to go back to the Catfish if he does find the flippers, but as said earlier, no reason for him to check that. Does look like Trenter is going to give us a look at the pedestal now.
Yes, indeed he is. And there are a fair number of items that can be here, so even though it's no fire rod into that Skull Woods, it's nothing of value anyway, so...
Yep, just a piece of art, so I'm not going to see that pedestal pull in all likelihood. Unless Kyong's routing happens to line up just right as he does Skullwoods' final pendant while still needing other items, but it's rather unlikely.
Yeah, I will have to agree on that. Meanwhile, Kyong's just been wrecking this Thieves' Town so far, no problems whatsoever.
Yep, also no items whatsoever.
It's 10 and Thieves' Town. If it's all dungeons, it doesn't have anything, and if it's just beat cannon, it has something.
Yep, that's pretty much the rule.
And Trenter is starting off here with Skull Woods.
That's not a bad call, because there's always a chance of that fire rod just being in Skull Woods, just like it is in the vanilla game.
On here on the blind fight, which is fully scripted if you know the correct movement to manipulate the pattern.
Yeah, and I do believe Kyong has practiced this quite extensively in the past. Well, that was a very smooth kill, so, you know.
I mean, if you're 10-0 in your group, pretty certain you know how to do that fight.
Definitely.
His first pendant, which doesn't matter, but it is his third dungeon.
Yep.
So far, just those gloves. That's all that's been found. Kind of having a little bit of issue here with this bomb jump.
Yeah, this one is annoying to set up. Looks like he's got it this time now.
Kyong again, routing in the house to buy some keys, buy some more keys.
Yeah, it's honestly not a bad call. That's, if you have some spare rupees to spare in retro, you just buy some extra keys.
Well, it may just be Palace of Darkness, that's the only thing he has left to buy.
Yeah, it's definitely the most key-hungry dungeon, and hey, there's the Bomber's Medallion, and we do have the cape, so Trenta can just go and pick that up right now.
Yeah, that could be necessary in this seed. You don't know yet, but better pick it up.
Yeah, because not only do we have the diners required and measuring my auto to rock, we also haven't got the fire rod yet, so it might be a case of the bombers medallion being required to beat the ice balance.
Yeah, that's always very fun. You're gonna see Kyong make the same call here, going at the bombos.
Yeah, nobody's going to skip out on that one.
Considering how early they got the cape, and the cape wasn't even needed for the Aga 1 call since they got the Master Sword, I don't think that it's worth something.
And just to answer a question in chat, still keys in the chest in retro modes, but less of them than you absolutely require to beat the game. So you usually need to buy some extra keys, especially in an old dungeon seed.
Indeed, since this is hard mode, 15 keys in total have been removed. For normal difficulty, it's 10. And you know, it doesn't really look like it is hard mode because of their hard count.
Yeah, that's the other side effect of retro mode. Retro mode adds some take any caves, which gives you a choice between either a hard container or a blue potion. And both of our runners found 3 of them, I want to say, in Kakariko Village early on, which is when their hard count is quite high for a hard mode seed.
Yeah, I do believe there was 3 of them in Kakariko. We're seeing is the reverse route here, Kyong and Skullwoods, entering Village of Outcasts.
Yep. Neither of them going to find anything particularly important, but Trento does need to beat Thieves Town sooner or later anyway. And Kyong actually going into this room on purpose to mirror out to get an extra key.
This key here is always in this chest, regardless of what. And that's a really quick setup for that bomb jump.
Yeah, he actually laid down the bomb before even setting up on the edge, just securing the knowledge that he would manage to set it up correctly, which is pretty impressive.
So, where are we going at this point in the seed? It's like Palace of Darkness, Spy Cave?
Yep, that's pretty much the 2 locations left at this point for our Tyrannis.
I mean, if you're in Trentor's position, you do have a few more. You have Catfish, you have the tablets to check.
Mm-hmm. Looks like Kyong is going to route in pedestal check this way. Of course, pick up an extra key from his path here.
11 keys. You can still afford 1 more and still get into pod.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just gonna get the... I don't really know, is it good or bad information? Would you prefer sometimes in all dungeons to actually be a pedestal requirement?
That's hard to say, actually. Like, if you get a chance to check it early, something good being on the pedestal is actually something I'd rather see than that being nothing important there, because it'll narrow down the amount of locations you have to check further.
I do feel like there's been quite a lot of old dungeon seeds with there being something on the pedestal.
Yeah, I don't think it's particularly more likely in all dungeons, but our runners are, of course, more likely to just check the pedestal in all dungeons, because quite often you end up in a position where you're looking for items and you do full of pendants already, because guess what? You're clearing those pendant dungeons either way.
It's also that thing of personal experience versus the actual facts of how the logic operates. We're gonna see Kyong here do Spy Cave. And while the cape normally consumes double magic, this is one of those rooms where it consumes the normal amount.
That's done on purpose so that the logic for Spike Cave doesn't have to change between different difficulties. Spike Cave is also, for example, the only place in hard mode and higher difficulties where green potions actually restore your full magic bar.
I didn't know that. Well, something in Spike Cave, so there's to be Palace of Darkness at this point. For Kyong, it's also Eastern, though.
Yeah. Imagine he'll just go straight into the Dark Worlds, check Palace of Darkness first, and then plans to mirror to Eastern Palace if he doesn't find anything. But I've seen Trent to go into Eastern Palace before we know he has to find something important here in Palace of Darkness.
We're looking for Bow, Fire Rod, King of Samaria, Mitts, Boots, Flippers.
There's quite a lot of possible items out there. Of those, I'd say finding the Flippers or Mitts next is the most likely because they unlock the most locations, but anything can happen.
I mean, Kane is progression, but Kane doesn't unlock anything right now, so not really that.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why the game is often pushed quite late into a season. It's one of those items you might have to hunt down at the end, much like the bow. It's an item that's important, but at the same time doesn't unlock that many locations by itself, so it's often pushed quite late into the seed.
While Kyong is inside of Palace of Darkness, Trent is going to do the blind fights.
Yeah, very smooth first phase there. There we go, the Mitts.
Yeah, that's a pretty good find there.
And nice damageless blind on Trent's part too.
So we're blind dead. If we just look at Kyong, there's the entire Smith chain, there's Ice Palace, can get into Mire, Dark Death Mountain, Tookshot Cave, there's a lot of places to check now.
Yeah, the Mitts, just to go further right, that chain I was talking about earlier is the item that unlocks the third most locations in the game, I'm pretty certain.
No, I wouldn't be surprised. And there's one of those few big heart containers that are available in hard mode. 11 hearts in hard mode before 1 hour, man.
Yeah, that's quite a lot. Kyong is also going to make use of the fact that that's also a very convenient hint, actually.
And both the big chest and left side swamp has nothing.
Yeah, that makes once they do get the Flippers, it would make me personally quite interested in doing Swamp Palace sometime soon. So yeah, Kyong is making use of the potion glitch here. That's what unlocks the camera in this particular room, and as far as Link to the Past is concerned, once the enemies are off the screen, they're gone, and the door opens.
Yeah, and you just skip by without needing the bow. And Trenter is checking, possibly combining Ether Tablet and Spike Cave here.
Yeah, it makes sense in his position.
Kyong's just going deeper now into Palace of Darkness, only found a key on the right side.
Yeah, but going in through Hillmire here makes a lot of sense, and I do believe he's found the big key already.
Yeah, the big key was in its vanilla location.
And considering Kyong's general mastery of bomb jumps and such so far, I wouldn't be surprised to see a hammer jump here.
That does spare him a key if that's what he's gonna do last, and it looks like that's the case. Meanwhile, Trenter Ether Tablet with the junk moving into Spike Cave.
If you're low on money, this is also a pretty good room to get some more money. But Kyong seems to be pretty confident in the amount of rupees he has right now.
And that seems to be the case, and something with Trenter here can save and quit, since as the mirror done Aga 1 will land on the pyramid and can just walk up to Catfish if that's the next destination.
That actually feels pretty bad, spending a key to get 1 green rupee out of it in retro mode.
Yeah, such is life. I'm gonna see Kyong here do the hammer jump. It's this name because in NMG the hammer is located in that chest, so do this jump to get the hammer quicker.
It's a very finicky one, but it's a bomb jump that probably has more tutorials available for it than any other in the game due to its importance in the NMG route.
Trender is in fact heading up towards Catfish at this point. Kyong is finished with Palace of Darkness, found the myths. Gonna bring out the flute here, going to Eastern. He's going to bring out the flute.
It looks like he's saving Eastern for when he has the bow. He's gonna go check whether either of his medallions are needed for Misery Maya.
Almost on Quake and both in acquired. Or almost on Ether, I mean. Perhaps Quake will also be needed though. Well, that was Ether, so at least one down. And there is still that unique item inside of Meyer, and Kyong knows about it.
Yep. Find the arcane next to Misery Maya, but it isn't the one you want to find next to Misery Maya.
Yeah, and in this mode it doesn't give any invulnerability, so not all that useful.
Yeah, the obvious exception once again is Spike Cave, where it does provide invulnerability to once again make it so the logic doesn't have to change for hard difficulty.
Nothing in checkerboard. Trenter is moving back into the Dark World. It looks like Kyong is maybe setting up the Smith chain here.
Yeah, I guess he figures he might as well do it now because it's never going to be a convenient time to do it otherwise. And with the flute, it's not a particularly lengthy check.
And Trenter now will be checking out the Bumble's tablet.
Yep, we know the Bumble's tablet is just 5 rupees, so he's going to be disappointed here, but it's just going to draw him to the same inevitable conclusion Kyong drew, where the play to make is going to Palace of Darkness and finding the myths there.
Yeah, and the reason for this time disparity here is likely because Trenter did make that dip earlier into Eastern that Kyong never made.
And if Kyong does keep putting up Eastern Palace, it's going to pay off for him. And speaking of payoff,
yeah, that fire rod is pretty useful.
Yep, at this point we're still missing 4 items at the very least, but one step closer to completion of the seed.
Yeah, well, that is Skull Woods clearable. Not the worst bottle in the world.
No, definitely.
Now, is there a consideration here to maybe fake Flipper into ice?
I mean, on the one hand, yes, but on the other hand, it's like, I don't know, I'd be inclined to put it off still just because of ice being ice. There's a little bit better win feasibility with the inclusion of the hints, because there are, I believe, 3 or maybe 2 hints. Okay, never mind. I don't know, at this point, it's just if you feel like doing ice, go do ice, I'd say. But as I said earlier, I'd personally be inclined with the knowledge we have so far with the 3 most out-of-the-way locations in Swamp Palace not being required, to just go into Swamp, because it is kinda sort of go mode Swamp at this point, even though, well, we are going to be checking the chests, but it's not going to be the ones that are the most out of the way.
Yes, because both the left side and the big chest doesn't have anything. We know that from the hints. At this point, Kyong can do Skull Woods, can do Ice, can do Swamp. Still
Yeah,
looking for the bow and the cane and the boots and possibly Quake.
but for now, I imagine it's going to be dungeon clearing mode for Kyong.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's pretty simple play that a lot of players make. If it's a dungeon I can full clear, let's go and full clear the dungeon.
Meantime, and I do like this, Trenter is actually checking Dark Dead Mountain, which again is a pretty item-dense location, and it was recently unlocked by the mid of out of Palace of Darkness.
We'll also get information that Turtle Rock medallion with this. This unique item in Mire, though, can't be all that many now.
It could be any of the items we're missing, considering we do have probably have access to it, like the one item location we can't get to in Mire, being Vitrius himself.
Nothing here in Super Bunny Cave. Kyong is gonna dip into Mophula here, and no magic, 9 hearts, green mail.
Yeah, that's gonna be fine. No, it's got the template sword.
Yeah. You know, it's still Mophula. Sometimes Mophula just doesn't want to behave.
Yeah, no, it's just be patient, take those hits that don't knock much into spikes as you can, and there you go.
It's a good fight for him, and meanwhile in Hookshot Cave, just 3 fivers, and finally a piece of heart. Well, nothing up here. As Kyong gets his second pendant, Trentus is gonna check the Turtle Rock here and see that it is in fact ether for both of our dungeons here.
Yep, so that's we definitely don't need the Quake medallion.
So we can write that off the list.
It still means we still need to find 4 total items to be able to make this seed beatable. We need to find the bow, the key of Samaria, the boots, and the flippers.
Kyong has the flippers.
Oh, right, that's true, actually.
From Purple Chest, so he is likely going into Swamp here.
Just means we need 3 items instead.
Would also like to find the silvers along the way, but 10% silver less at this level of play should be fine.
Yeah, I don't imagine Silverless Cannon giving either of our runners an issue.
Trenter's now in the Mire area, sees the double ether.
But yeah, this is going to be a remarkably quick Swamp Palace, considering we're not in go mode yet. But as I said earlier, we know the left side of Swamp just has some unimportant items in it, and we know the big key, the big chest, also has some unimportant items in it, so the dungeon can't make us backtrack in any way, shape, or form.
And Trenter's gonna make the call here to go into Mire.
Yeah, again, he did see the unique item in Maya hint earlier, so he might just be counting on it being something important that will eventually lead him to the Cane of Samaria if it isn't the Cane of Samaria itself.
At this point, I'd say Kyong has a bit of a lead, but this here could be something valuable for him that may help Trenter make a bounce back in this race. Of course, Kyong did find the early big key, but we know, and he also knows, that the big chest here doesn't have anything in Swamp.
Yeah, I believe the hint earlier just said it was some cash. Like, he might opt to just open it while he's walking past it at this point, but again, it doesn't really need to.
Still has to go and check that southern chest, because it may have something.
Yep, and nothing so far in Maya either. So Maya is a little bit more attractive in retro as far as general items go, because as with Panels of Darkness, it's a dungeon that normally has a lot of keys in chests, and, well, it doesn't necessarily have to have those keys in chests now, because it's retro mode.
That's basically a perfect go mode Mire with that early B key, but fortunately for Trenter, he has to go and check some other stuff to find some items.
Mm-hmm.
Kyong's just continuing here through Swamp. So 3 more chests to check and then a boss.
Yep. It's gonna be nice and quick too with the Tempered Sword.
Still waiting. Trender has to be a little bit careful here though, down at 2 hearts.
Yeah, and stop being Green Mill. One of those wish ropes here appearing at a bad spot could be a problem.
And he also doesn't have the fire rod, so has to do just a slow way.
There we go. We get an exciting cutscene on one end, while we get an exciting boss fight on the other end.
Just a single slash for each R guy with the Tempered Sword.
Yeah, and Kyong is making good use of the fact you want to be as close to Argus as possible to minimize the amount of time you're frozen in the hookshot animation.
And the Trent just finds what is likely the best hint of all, cashing Ganon's tower.
It's a very smooth one cycle at the finish there for Kyong92.
Guillaume finishes his 5th dungeon, his 2nd crystal, as Trent just finds 5 rupees in that cutscene chest. At this point, Kyong can just head eastwards and make the trip into ice if he wants to. Could also mirror flute there, maybe that's faster without the boots.
That's a good question. I imagine it's slightly quicker, but it's not like I've tested this. But it looks like he wants to check the east side of Dark Mountain first. Probably wants to double check what the medallion for Turtle Rock is. He hasn't been there himself, only Trenter has been so far, so he doesn't know yet whether Quake is required or not.
That is true. Then there's also that of just a lot of players don't like ice and don't really want to go into there unless they're guaranteed go mode.
Yeah, so as with a bunch of other dungeons in Retro, ice is a little bit more attractive in Retro due to the removal of the keys being replaced by other stuff.
And Trenter here with the final chest, silver arrows in Mire. That is likely the unique item there. But unfortunately for him, that's only useful on Ganon, and it's not progression. But the chest is in such a location where if Kyong is in go mode, he may not pick that up.
Yep. As you mentioned earlier, the key layout for the big key location for Misery Mire is very good for just going through it really quickly. And you would only really check that particular chest if you still have to full clear the dungeon.
Where is Trenter going? He's been in Eastern, he's been in Pod.
I don't think he full cleared Panels of Darkness earlier. I believe he grabbed the mids and then just immediately left.
That's just very unfortunate for him.
Yeah, because I don't think there was anything viable in the rest of the Panels of Darkness.
I can't remember anything, so yeah. Kyong's gonna see the ether here, mirror, bring out the flute, and go where?
Looks like straight off the Ice Palace.
Yeah, it's time for the Ice Palace, and he has everything he needs to clear the dungeon.
Yep, and he also hasn't checked the waterfall of fishing, actually, so it's not a bad call to do that right now.
Yeah, we still don't know what's inside of this waterfall. That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
So you can go Mire now, you can full clear Turtle Rock. Don't tell me that Mushroom in Turtle Rock is gonna be required for something.
It might be at this point. We are still missing the boots and the bow, and both of those could be in just Turtle Rock itself or behind that mushroom.
And Kyong knows that there's a unique item in Mire, we know it's silvers. And he does know that there's a mushroom in Turtle Rock, but doesn't know what it leads to. And then there's ice. You also see Trenter here getting the bottle glitch.
Looks like Kyong is likely, in light of that unique item in Maya hint he got earlier, going to use this opportunity to clear out Misery Maya, so he will in all likelihood also be finding the silvers.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he's just gonna go and rush Vitreous here with the early B key, but could make that call, but since you're still looking for 2 items and you know there's something unique in here, gotta go and check it out. You could be hoping that Vitreous has the unique item.
And for all we know, there could be another unique item hiding there in Misery Mire beyond the silver areas.
Oh yes, there could be 2 unique items.
And maybe that dream scenario you talked about before about the boots being in Misery Mire could still happen.
Yeah. I mean, Boots and Vitreous, they're pretty far in, they're still looking for the boots, they just want to find them normally so they can go fast, but in this sea they need them to beat testers.
Yep, but Big Key being on the Desert Torch, well, can't get to rent those boots.
After this, Kyong will have both Ice and Turtle Rock available for him. Trenter needs to do the Smith Chain to get both the Fire Rod and the Flippers from that. The Flippers does lead to Cane of Samaria.
Yep. Also, at this point, our runners, Trenter does technically have the option to use the fake flippers to get the Cane of Samaria from the waterfall instead, but it's not really worth the bother.
Yeah, fake flipper is mostly just an early game play when you are in the area.
It's something you don't often see, and something people go out of the way to do later in the seed.
Yeah, it's pretty rare for later fake flippers to work out in your favor. Trenter here attempting to set up the hammer jump.
Oh, I don't think he got it. No, that's unfortunate.
It is one of the harder movement techs in the game.
Yeah, it's actually funny to think about. In my opinion, some of the harder bomb jumps are the ones that are actually used in the NMG, but because of how familiar they are to a lot of experienced runners, they're considered simpler than a lot of the actually easier bomb jumps, which is funny to think about.
I mean, if you've done the same thing 100 times, you likely know how to do it, but then you try a bomb jump in a completely different place that requires a different setup. It can take some time to learn that. It's also why there are several different setups for places like the Skull Boots Big Chest and Tower of Hera Big Chest.
Yeah, because again, those are all bomb jumps that are used in more than just the randomizer.
Trenter is done in Palace of Darkness, and he's head on over here to Kakariko and take the Dark Portal, and looks like what he's going to do.
Yeah, because what Trenter needs to do at this point is the hammer pegs for the fire rods and the purple chest for the flippers. Both of those are pretty much required to unlock the seed further at this point.
That is indeed true, and Kyong here picks up the silver arrows. That is the unique item, as far as we know.
I'd also just like to point out for those who have been paying attention, Kyong took a very different route than you'd usually see through Mystery Maya, making use of the fact that due to it being retro, you start off with all those keys already, and this route is a little bit quicker for checking all the chests in this particular dungeon.
Yeah, that did mean that he had to do the cutscene chest much earlier, which you prefer to want to skip, but he didn't really care about that.
Yeah, it's sacrifice. Like, you sacrifice the time for the cutscene check, but at the same time you get an overall quicker clear through the dungeon. I find it an interesting counterplay. I find it an interesting interplay of factors.
Trenter again very low here, down to a single heart in Skull Woods. So it's just one chest that he orphaned earlier.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him take that warp out of this segment in a little bit just to get some hearts back. Oh.
That's
I feel bad now.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate for Trenter. He has to go through this again. Unfortunately, while you can normally stun these Kibdos with the boomerang does not stun in hard mode, so it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, and because the Kibdos don't get stunned by the hookshot, they're actually completely incapable of being stunned in hard mode. Actually, thinking about it, the Quake Medallion might work, but...
Yeah, it's a lot of time invested though to use the medallion, and Trenter is thinking here, we simply have forgotten for a little while here about the Smith Chain.
Yeah, this looking at the map is generally a bad sign when you see a runner do it, because it means they have to actually think about what did I not do yet. In this particular case, it's the hammer pegs and the Smith's chain, but it can be all kinds of things.
I mean, this does explain the decision to go back into Palace of Darkness, as Beatrice goes down here for Kyong. Is it going to be a unique item? Well, that's unique.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique item. It's, nobody likes the.
Yeah, not really the unique item he wanted to see there, but I have to imagine he's going to go and check that out pretty soon. And Trenter here remembers about the Smith Chain.
Yeah, that's good. It'll put him on the path of being able to do more stuff in this particular scene.
And Kyong immediately heads on over to the shovel spot.
Yeah, you might as well get us out of the way now.
And that's the only true progression you got from that mire, so see what it's got in store. The shovel was locked behind the Cane of Samara, which was locked behind the Flippers, which was locked behind the Titansmiths. All for that one single rupee.
Yep, just gonna leave it lying now. Don't even want it. It's not worth the time. It's the cutscene time it takes to pick up.
And now Kyong will make the trip into Ice Palace.
Yeah, he's likely leaving off Turtle Rock until later, because if at all possible, you usually want to save Turtle Rock until you can just go into Ganon's Tower straight afterwards, just to save you a little bit of travel time up that mountain.
Absolutely, in this hint here, bombs in plain sight, not really valuable. Trenter did pick up the fire rod. If he now grabs the purple chest, he will get the flippers from that.
Yeah, that's good news.
This will put Trenter on the right path again. Buying some keys or no? That's an interesting spot there to leave that portal, but that could just be a preparation to do Skull Woods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty heads up, actually.
Yeah, you don't see that very often with players leaving portals like that, but yeah, I can't think of any other reason for Trencher to do that. And of course, the Flippers kind of changes his mind here.
Yeah, that can happen. Like, at this point, he was basically counting on the fire being
Oh,
deadly.
the boots are in Turtle Rock!
Okay, well, that's an important hint to find here.
So boots and mushroom are in Turtle Rock.
Mm-hmm. Yep, the only item we need, we don't know the exact, well, the kind of exact location of at this point is the bow.
And the bow could also be in Turtle Rock, could be from the mushroom, could be in desert, locked behind those boots. Of course, the Bone Crocs and the King's Tome as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was pretty clear from Kyong's perspective regardless to go into Turtle Rock here, but this is the only real call after this.
Yeah. It's still nice to find it. It's still always nice to find a hint like that there.
Kyong currently sitting here on 6 keys, Trencher at 3.
Yeah, and then Ice Palace also has a lot of, well, having a couple of keys in chests normally, it also has a lot of keys that are just found in pots off of enemies, so you actually end up being largely key neutral on it most of the time.
Yeah, so Kyong's already up to 8 keys right now. Trencher also getting the hint here, may also decide that Turtle Rock is the next destination, but he has to find that key first at the Waterfall of Wishing, but he can route that in pretty easily after Ice if he decides to go for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's, mirroring after Ice to check the Waterfall of Wishing makes a lot of sense, as long as you remember that you still haven't done it yet.
Both players here getting their respective bomb jumps. Still a few more locations here to check. There's the big key. Kyong is still looking for the bow after all. Trencher is looking for the King of Samaria. As a reminder here for the group standings here in Group J, Group Joker Buster as it is called, because of the standing for the other players in this group. If Kyong wins this group, he is guaranteed first place. So he'll be sitting at 11-0 with a total of 15 matches to be played, and everyone else has at least 5 losses, so they cannot get to 11 wins.
Yep, and that's going to give him a cushy spot in the brackets in all likelihood.
Well, Kyong came into this group as the 5th seed from the 15 qualifier races, so I'd say he was the favorite from the get-go in this group, but he is definitely been dominating it so far. Showing how to get Coaster into the corner, no problem at all with this fight.
Yeah, also a couple of nice multi-hits with fire up there. And, oh my god.
Well, is this like indirect go mode or knowledge go mode, sort of?
Pretty much, yeah, because he just eats the boots and he knows the boots are in Total Rock. Like, the interesting decision at this point is, do you just go to Total Rock right now to get those boots first? do you clear Eastern Palace and Palace of Darkness? I imagine he'll be going to Turtle Rock first just because the boots will speed up those two dungeons, but we'll see what he does.
Yeah, that's the thing, since he still needs to go back to the desert, he has to make this climb up to Death Mountain again regardless, so let's just go into Turtle Rock and get that done. Now, unfortunately for Trenter, this bow is gonna make him go back into Eastern Pod before getting the K in.
Maybe, it depends on whether he feels he should just immediately go in Mirror out of Ice Palace to check the Waterfall Wishing or not.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Kyong is even sitting on 14 hearts here on hard mode, so he has no problem.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna go back to the library to get the blue mail either.
No, I don't think I'd have run as well at this point, honestly. Boots were earlier in the seed would be a different matter, but with how late the seed pushes those boots, you're just not going to do that.
I'm just gonna take the fall here to the second lowest floor in Ice Palace. Kyong will soon be inside of Turtle Rock.
Yep, he's just going to be looking for the boots here, and as soon as he finds the boots, he's going to ignore all else and go straight to Trinax.
And it's still a question of which chest has those boots. I mean, it's Turtle Rock, so you're naturally gonna assume it's a Laser Bridge, but it may be earlier than that.
There are a lot of chests in Turtle Rock, so you never know.
Indeed, you never know, and well, maybe they're gonna find a mushroom first. The potential spook from that mushroom hint didn't end up being anything after all. Trenter had to be a little bit carefully with the low heart, but also managed to get Coaster down and will be rewarded a bow for that.
Yeah, it's good to see Raz actually clearing calls there, even if they're in a turn-up situation, because it is one of the most time-consuming bosses to get back to.
Yeah, there are no quick ways to get back to Coles there. He's gonna mirror, he's gonna check the waterfall wishing, or is he gonna flute? He is checking the waterfall.
That's very good news for him, because it means he's going to pick up the Cane of Samaria, and he's going to be in a very similar spot to Kyong, where he knows where the boots are, so he knows what he needs to do to complete the seed at this point.
It's just unfortunate he will be 3 dungeons behind.
Yep, and in addition to already being a bit behind on the Turtle Rock clearing as well, so yeah, it's definitely looking like Kyong is gonna win this race, but anything could happen.
Yeah, it's not over until it's over, but at this point it's definitely Kyong's race to lose. You never know what can happen at Moldorm 2. You never know what Ganon may have prepared for you, or Shane Shams blocking your Cane of Samaria shots. And there's that mushroom.
Yep, we know we don't need that one for anything. It's gonna just sit in our inventory nice and pretty, except it's not even gonna show up there because we already have the powder.
Yeah, that mushroom can give literally nothing except for Quake, I guess, and that doesn't do anything. Because just look at their inventory, they have everything.
Yep, they certainly do.
Just those boots. Now, do you think Kyong will need to go and buy keys again?
This is probably the most key-intensive dungeon left at this point, depending on where you find the big key. He just found the big key on that note. It depends. I think he might have to buy a key if he's at less than 3 after he's done with Trinex. But I'm not completely certain of that.
We do actually see Trenter here starting off with Palace of Darkness before going up to Turtle Rock and getting the boots.
I also find it interesting Kyong is actually opting to take this particular route, because I think he could just safely have gone right off the 2-kill Poke Room with the knowledge he has.
He's still looking for those boots. Could be in this chest.
Oh, you are
There they
correct. Never mind. I'm a bit of a numpty, apparently.
It happens, but with that, Kyong is in fact officially in go mode. He has everything he needs, even 14 hearts in hard mode, so yeah, just skip all the chests.
Yep. It's just gonna be a straight shot to the remaining bosses at this point, barring possibly a side trip to buy some extra keys, depending on the key situation. It looks like he'll be finishing this with 3 keys.
Will not need anything for Eastern. For Desert, we'll need 1 for Pod, I believe.
Yes.
So that's 2 keys heading into Ganon's Tower.
Yeah, and I think with the guaranteed keys found throughout Ganon's Tower, that is actually enough to make it through.
If that is the case, very well planned by Kyong. New alternative is gonna take down Helmasaur King.
Yep, and with this being retro mode, he's going to go into Ganon's Tower with at least 900 rupees, which means 90 arrows 90 regular arrows he can fire, so he's definitely in good shape there too. Very nice backdoor strats on Trinex too.
Indeed, and the silver arrows do cost 50, so we need 200 for Ganon. Hunter's going back into Pod.
I'm not certain. Could have sworn he checked everything, but he must still have something left to do in here.
And he knows the medallion placement. He got the boots hints from Ice. Yeah, he's mirroring out.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Trinex is dead.
Might have been put off a little bit by having issues figuring out where to go earlier.
This scene may have affected Trenter in a few ways due to forgetting about the Smith chain earlier and be a little bit flustered.
It's always a rough spot to be in.
Yeah, in his shoes he likely thinks he's behind because of that. Trenter here into Eastern, and Kyong's now gonna do Pod and Eastern back to back and then finish off with Desert.
Yep, and all of these are just going to be straight clears to straight shots to the boss. Actually, we'll need to find the big key in Eastern Palace still, because I do believe Kyong never entered Eastern Palace.
Yeah, that is right, but it is not in his vanilla location, I remember that.
Yeah, so it's still going to be a little bit of a time save.
And this early Eastern that Trenter did, and definitely put him back early on, and he's unfortunately forgetting about the Smith chain. But besides that, this could definitely be a much closer race than it currently is. But you never know. You never know. Trends are now entering the Armos fight as Kyong's waiting for this cutscene.
Yep, it's going to be a minimum of 180 rupees to kill this in a short amount of time, but if both runners have plenty of rupees at this point.
And Trent unfortunately not getting the quick kill here. The armor's still gonna fall.
Of course, Kyong is actually gonna enter against her with a little bit less rupees in his head earlier, considering the time spent. well, the arrows he needs to spend here in the Eastern Palace and Palace of Darkness, but close enough. It's still more arrows than he could ever possibly need.
Yeah, I don't really think that's gonna make a big impact. Enter here as he walks over a bomb. Thanks, but he's gonna be able to gummo swamp here. Salmasaur just dies.
Yeah. That's one item location we're definitely not gonna see. The green pendant reward.
Yeah, nothing from the green pendant, and nothing from the pedestal, but still early Aga 1 require the seed.
Yeah, for two reasons even, because there was that book leading to the moon pool over in Aga Tower, and of course we needed to beat Aga to even get into the Dark World. And finally, we also needed to beat Aga to even beat the seed, because it's all dungeons.
Indeed. We would prefer to do that later, but because the gloves were located at Palace of Darkness and the digging game, that was the only way to get into the Dark World in the first place. Kyong still has to look for that big key here in Eastern. Likely another reason why he decided that he wanted the boots earlier, to get through this dungeon faster.
Yeah, because despite the fact that in the vanilla game you would never have the boots for Eastern Palace, because they're the reward from the green pendant normally, it is a dungeon that's very straightforward in its layout, so you can gain a lot of time here by just being able to dash through everything.
Oh, absolutely. And Trenter doesn't have to do anything here in the swamp, he just goes straight to the boss. There we go, there's the big key.
Yep, one of the most convenient locations for it.
And just disregarding the big chest, no need for that, has everything he needs. So I will say, despite this being hard, it never really felt like it was a hard mode because of all those early hard containers. Despite Trenter being low several times, it never really felt like they were at the risk of dying.
Yeah, like the biggest reasons we've noticed this hard mode is, well, the fact that there's only a single mill upgrade out there to be found to begin with, and the fact that occasionally when a potion was used it was a little bit less effective than usual. Otherwise, it hasn't impacted things that much. Because it's retro, it actually also meant that more key purchases were required on a runner's parts, but the amount of money found was so generous that didn't really impact things either.
Indeed, I was a bit surprised about Trenter because he moved over to the left side of Swamp, but he just went there to pick up the small key.
Yeah, it's not a bad call.
It really shows that he is familiar with retro and how it functions. Just go over there and get the keys, save 100 rupees just to make sure that you have the keys that you need. As Kyong has slain yet another boss, there's only one left before Ganon's Tower.
Yep, just Desert Palace left to go. One of the first dungeons that were required to go through, and one of the last dungeons we're able to complete here.
It's gonna be another really quick clear for him. If he remembers the big key.
Yeah, that's something that's easy to forget.
Yeah, just a little bit trigger happy there.
But yeah, he currently has 2 keys, and he will continue to have 2 keys if he picks up the keys in pots along the way here in Desert Palace, and I imagine he will.
There we go, there's the big key. And Argus is down for Trenter.
Yep, very smooth 2 cycle on the final phase now.
Now, since silver arrows only work on Ganon in hard mode, and likely fire rod strats here from Kyong.
Yep, Fire Rods is really effective on Land Molars. It takes 2 Fire Rod shots to kill 1 Land Molar head.
I'm just gonna buy a key here.
Yeah, I do believe in his particular position he still needs 1 or 2 more keys.
Does have a rupee, so it's fine. I'm starting off here with a spin.
Just misses a couple of Fire Rod shots, unfortunately, but the spins also do the same amount of damage, so it cost him a little bit of time because it cost him 1 cycle, but it didn't cost him more than that.
Still a really fast 2 cycle, and with that, that's all the dungeons done for Kyong, and it's time to head to Ganon's Tower.
Yep, sure is. It's gonna be a case of wondering where is that big key?
Yeah, that big key, you know, one of 22 possible item locations in Ganon's Tower where it can be, where people in the live chat can guess where it is. And if any of them are a sub or have donated 250 bits to end of speed gaming channels, they will even be entering this leaderboard if they're the first one to guess it right.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And what do you think the big key will be, Marjovic?
I mean, I always just want Bob to die. That's kind of how I roll with Ganon's Tower. I mean, that's not a number, but, you know...
You want it to be on the torch, is what you're saying?
Yes. So normally that is 3 or 7. Normally.
Yeah. A spot I've become fond of for the big key, personally, is the room with the 2 fire bars. That's often number 8, but not always.
Interesting, interesting. I mean, I don't know if there's some logic that actually makes some chests more likely to have the big key or not.
I believe the big key is purposely placed first so that all 22 chests are equally likely.
Ah. Okay.
There are 2 people who know enough about it, and I'm not one of those people, so I'm not gonna fully explain it. There are some hints from small key locations that can inform you a little bit of where the big key might possibly be, but as I said, I don't know enough about the logic to be able to explain that properly.
And neither do I, but here we go, it's time for Ganon's Tower. Meanwhile, Trinter here is doing Mofulas, we see a bunch of rupees here on the right side.
Yep, and it being retro mode, we start off with some keys, so you can always go to the right side immediately if you want to.
Of course, disregarding the tavern for now, Trinter's having some issues here, but does manage to get Mofula down.
Yeah, Kid made good use of the fact that he preserved some magic for that fight.
Another dungeon done for Trenter, but he is significantly far behind at this point. Not in 3, 4, not, is it 5? It's not 5, is it 6? It's not 6. We're going left.
Yeah, we're gonna refund a key here from the pot, and then we're probably gonna mirror.
Indeed, as Trenter is now moving into Turtle Rock.
Let's see if you get your wish.
No.
Nope, Bob lives.
Aww. Oh well. There's always an upseed. That was number 7, another 7, moving into the Stalfos room. You may just be waiting some time for this key.
Well, that real question is also, which particular cache in Ganon's Tower was that one hint I was talking about anyway? There's been a lot of cache in here so far.
Yeah, you know, it's a lot of them. Kyong here sitting on 15 hearts in hard mode. Not very common.
Yeah, in fact, if he finds one more heart, he's got more hearts than you normally supposed to be able to get in hard mode. That's one of the interesting things about retro hard mode, because the Take Any caves are not considered as part of the regular heart placement logic.
Actually, 14 is the highest you're supposed to have.
So we're actually already past that point.
Indeed, you're supposed to get 1 less heart container from pieces and 5 less from pure heart containers, so 14. That is the beauty of retro. Kyong now entering the randomizer ring. This will be chests 14 through 17. And there we go, number 14.
No, hey, there is a second male upgrade anyway, so it does actually work like the swords then.
I thought there was only one.
You learn something new every day.
Even my notes say one, so I guess I need to edit my notes now. But the thing is, regardless, in hard mode you can't get the red mail. The blue mail is the highest you can get. But I thought that there was only one that was placed, but apparently 2 are placed.
Yeah, but we did see one in the library very early on in the seed, but neither of our runners went out of the way to pick it up, and so we were a little surprised to see the blue mail here in Gannon's Tower.
I have to update my notes. Meanwhile, Trenter is continuing throughout Turtle Rock, currently in the Chain Chomp room. It's Kyong here in the Gauntlet.
Yep. Ooh. Missing a little bit with those arrows, but he's got plenty of rupees to spare on those. Yeah, I always like seeing runners go through the Gauntlet. It's a little bit... it's the most NMG segment of Link to the Past Randomizer, and it's something that's worth practicing if you want to do well in racing. Ooh, that was a very nice last second shot on the fire rod on that one Lambo there.
Yeah, on the second one as well, and very quickly finishes up the third one.
Yep, that's Trent's big key, so he just needs the boots to be in go mode, and he'll find that in the big chest of Turtle Rock.
Yeah, that is the very next chest he will open. He's a little bit low here on magic. Do know that there is no half magic in hard mode, so he's conserving this very well to get the full magic pickup in the next room.
If absolutely required, you can do this that previous room using just the lamp, but the timing is a little bit tight that way. Yep, we'll need to kill one of these homosaurs for the final small key he needs to complete the game.
Yes, perfect small key management here from Kyong, as Trenter is now in go mode. And as stated, no reason to open any chests. There is just nothing available for him at this point.
Yeah, no. Blue mail, like, it's got 15 hearts already, it's got 4 bottles, there's absolutely nothing left at this point.
It's gonna have silvers ready for Ganon, 597 rupees.
He's got almost everything a runner in a hard mode seat could wish for.
And more.
That's a good double considering the positioning on Naganim there.
Oh, unfortunate there in the second cycle though.
Yeah. Oh. That's frustrating when it goes that way. Ooh, that was almost a triple, but not quite.
Just barely missed that, but that was a really nice setup there.
So I believe that was a 2-0-0-2-2 cycle.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
Just Ganon left to go. While Trencher's taking down good friend Trinex. There we go. Just needs to take down the main body itself.
And for Kyong here, it's time for this cannon fight. That's all that stands between him and the first place in this group.
I don't think I've ever seen hard cannon attacks before.
I think I've seen it once, maybe.
Yeah, just barely missed the one cycle on the first phase, and this position isn't much good for getting a one cycle on this phase, so I imagine we'll be seeing two cycles on both the first and second phase of Ganon here.
Oh, 2 hearts.
Yeah. It's fine, you want to be careful, and it looks like Kyong is just going to opt for evading for a little bit, as opposed to trying to get in too many hits until Ganon gets into a better position.
Does have a red potion.
So I guess he was just one hit off, so that's another reason he was doing that. Very good counting though.
Jones is taking out the silver arrows. Trencher's heading into Mire, but after that still has to go and do Desert. He's gonna do Desert first, actually.
Yes, Ganon, we did find arrows here in Misery Mire. Ooh, very nice. That's gonna be... Oh, he misses. Oh no, that's a shame. That could have been a very nice triple to finish off there. So that's gonna take a little bit longer, but... Well, money to spare here.
Well, I mean, what can you say about Kyong? 11-0 in the group stage, first place in his group.
Guaranteed. At this point, any extra wins on his part are just gonna give him a better spot in the brackets, because we will be using seeding in the brackets based on performance in the groups. So the top seed will get an easier opponent. The overall top seed will get an easier opponent than somebody who still has a couple, who is the first place finisher in the group but has had a couple of losses.
That is indeed the case. Trencher, unfortunately, here with the loss, Kyong is going to finish here with the official SRL time of 1 hour 57 minutes 20 seconds. As for Kyong, as stated earlier, he cannot qualify for the next stage of the group. He can still finish third, but unfortunately it's only top 2 that qualifies to the bracket stage.
Yep, it's unfortunate, but it's how it is. From the 96 people in group, we're gonna go down to 32 people in the brackets. Still quite a lot of people, actually.
Well, the group here with 96, and then going down to 32 for the elimination bracket.
And we are joined by Kyong. GG, you put down a pretty nice time for this particular seed.
Yeah.
So obviously we have to ask, you are confirmed first in your group. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I can't say I realistically expect to go undefeated because it's a randomizer, but I'm definitely happy with how things have been going so far, because even though the results are like that, doesn't mean that the races weren't close or anything like that.
Now, there were some interesting hints in the seed, like the mushroom into Ganon's tower, the unique item in Mire. Did that have any impact on your routing decisions this game?
I was really tempted into going to Mire. I was probably going to go there before. Oh wait, I don't remember exactly which decision point it was, but I ended up deciding doing the flipper stuff first, which got me Somar, and then I just went there because I thought there was a good chance that he would have gone there earlier than me because of the hint.
And yeah, your opponent did actually go into Maya earlier before you did, and he didn't have the Cane of Samaria at the time. So all he got out of it was those silver arrows, which, this being hard mode, you couldn't use until Ganon anyway.
Yeah. Things worked out pretty well this seed overall, I think.
Yeah,
for being a hard mode seed, you did get quite a lot of early hard containers as well.
Yeah, I decided to hedge my bets and check the TKN caves at the beginning until I got Master Sword. So, and we got an unlikely amount of hearts in those very early. So,
yeah, like 3 of those being located in Kakariko Village doesn't happen all that often, but there they were, and it gave both of you a very high amount of hearts for a hard mode seed.
Yeah, definitely made things more comfy.
It's time for Trenta to do his Fidgeous fight. Looks like he's going to opt for the Cape strats and just slashing his sword, which, again, repeatedly slashing your sword while you're using Cape actually reduces the rate at which it drains magic for some reason. So this is a pretty quick and safe way of clearing out the first phase of Fidgeous, and then it's just 8 arrows to the big eye to finish it off.
That's more than enough rupees to do this.
Yeah, in general, both of you had a lot of rupees to spare in this seed, I gotta say. Like, even with the amount of key purchases being required.
Yeah, rupee management wasn't really an issue this seed overall. It's pretty good. I didn't even have to hold it on.
Yep. And your key management works out perfectly too. You finished the game eventually with no keys at all, which is always a good thing in retro. It means you manage things absolutely just right.
Yeah, I was happy with that as well. Well, actually, sometimes it's actually better to have extra so you can burn some keys, like swamp and stuff. And I didn't have the opportunity to do that because of how kind of tight it was, but
yeah, that's true actually. It could definitely save you some time. You don't have to go out of your way to pick up, say, that's one key that's always there in Skull Woods, for example.
Yeah, it's sometimes hard to judge if it's worth the 100 rupees plus the time that it actually takes to re-enter a shop and buy a key.
And Trenta here will soon be inside of Ganon's tower, the final place for him to clear. Seeing the seed through to the end.
Yeah, time to open up Ganon's tower and Trenta's site, and we'll see how he goes through Ganon's tower. You could save a bit of time if he ends up going around the room first, but I imagine he'll go for the same route Kyong took, where you end up doing the right side first, then mirroring, and then checking the left side, since that's the most common Ganon's tower route.
you're very incentivized to do that as well with showcase, because then you can full clear everything.
Yeah, and in retro, as on general Inky Sanity, if you actually need to check in on Star Inky Sanity, you are typically capable of just doing display anyway, unlike a regular seed where you have to get a small key and those first two chests to be able to make this possible.
Or you do tile room first.
Being it's an option. Something we haven't seen here actually. And this is, I believe, the first tower room we'll see go through completely in this particular seat, because the basement of Hera wasn't required. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, and Trenter here is using another little glitch with the cape, where if you're holding a wall while you're using the cape, for some reason it doesn't drain magic.
Oh, there's that quake.
Ah, well, now there you go. Now we actually know the location of every single major item in this particular game.
Congratulations.
That little mystery was solved.
Indeed it is. As for you, Kyong, you have a match later today versus Tadaru. You are already first in the group, but how are you gonna move forward into that match? It's an inverted, I see.
Yep, it is. It's game 2 against him, so it was his choice.
Yeah, it's interesting to note, by the way, that let me actually double check what the exact settings in your seed was, but a normal difficulty inverted seed is actually the single most popular seed combination in the group stages so far.
Yeah, I think that makes sense too, because you are forced to not combine inverted with other things. So if you want to play inverted, you can't adjust it too much, and it's the new thing, right? People want to try it out, and maybe they think that's an advantage for them, and things like that.
Yeah, and it's also just fun to see a new game mode, because as far as the variations and such in this game go, it's definitely one of the ones that changes the most by far.
Yeah, especially the ones included in this tournament for sure.
Trent has to be careful here. He's got a half heart left, and he's in the room with the 4 Stalfos here in Gannon's Tower. And he manages to clear it. Interesting to see if he opts to take that warp once he's found his big key, just to save a little bit of time, or well, just to get a little bit of health back.
Well, there's 1 heart there at least. Oh yeah, there's a real feel also that I believe you also had that there, Kyong.
I don't quite remember. I know Kyong got a refill in Gannon's Tower, but I don't know if it was in that particular room.
I got the refill on that Stalfo, 4 Stalfo room heart piece.
So 1 room earlier. Oh, well, 1 set of checks earlier, I should say.
Well, that's one of the more convenient fill-ups.
Yeah, it's definitely very well timed in this particular case. And Trenter is about to find the big key here in the random room in the bottom left chest. Will he check the top right chest for the blue mail as well, is the question. It looks like he will be.
Yeah, that really surprised me that there were 2 mail upgrades in this seed. 1 in Gannon's Tower and 1 in the library.
Yeah,
that's how all difficulties work right now. Even like expert or insane, you are gonna see all the total amount of swords, mails, and bottles, everything.
Yeah, except in Expert, I believe all the mills will be automatically replaced with rupees anyway, so you shouldn't really
Yep.
know. They might show up in the credits, I believe. Like the pedestal might say there was an armor upgrade in it.
It may show that as well.
It's one of those weird quirks. Yeah, it's just pure execution from this point for Trenta to finish as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's just time for that gauntlet. Fully stacked, has everything he needs.
Yep, it's just up to you how you'd like to clear these rooms. With Tempered Swords, we are at least capable of one-shotting practically all the enemies along the way. The exception of Lammo, of course. And we've got so many rupees to spare that there's no worry about using some of those to try and kill the enemies.
Yeah, Trent isn't having too much of a difficulty here.
Yep, it's probably going to be seeing another Lammo with some spins and some fire rod usage. Or just spins. With Tempered, that is a very effective way, and it means you preserve magic for the later rooms. You possibly don't have to pick up that full magic refill later.
If you feel confident in doing that, just go for it.
Yep, and then we got the Wizard rooms, which are some of my favorite, just because they're so perfectly designed around the Cane of Samaria. And it's always annoying when you end up bouncing off the guards when you dash through them. Doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's always annoying. Yeah, at this point, Trent can just head straight up the stairs, no worries, because he's got plenty of magic to light these final torches, and there's a final magic refill for the second Hordorm fight anyway.
Just have to go get the final key.
Yep, Trent will also be finishing the game with no keys in hand, so... Ooh, just barely missed the bombing there, and yeah, he might as well just place it that way, because if you place it low enough, you won't have to worry about the conveyor belts.
Yeah, also very well calculated here by Trenter to manage the small keys. Never seemed like small keys were any trouble at all this seed.
Yeah, no, there was either always plenty of money or plenty of keys to be found, so it wasn't really a factor. In that regard, this retro acted more as an extra open mode rather than anything else.
Yeah, and also with the late bow, gonna be very liberal with that, so saving rupees there. You're not gonna use silver arrows on every boss. Now the Aga 2 patterns weren't very nice.
Yep, and due to the way the Randomizer is programmed, they're the same, gonna be the same for both players, so... It's very possible, It's very possible we'll see a similar pattern, and so far we do, because Kyong also had 2-0-0 and then 2-2, but here we're seeing a little bit of divergence. believe it's just one more hit, and apparently it isn't, so one more hit now, probably. There we go, Agatu down, just Ganon himself left to go.
7 hearts, blue mail, full magic. Still think he has the red potion?
Probably, yeah. Because in hard mode, the red potion doesn't refill your full health. I believe it restores 5 hearts, but that's still some extra margin of error.
7 hearts, but it may have been used in Palace of Darkness actually for the bottle glitch. Because some bottle was used there, and I can't remember which one.
Yeah, I just barely missed one cycle there too. But, again, this particular position isn't particularly good for one cycling the second phase. Ooh, gotta be careful now.
Very clutch hook shot there.
Yeah, just opting to play it safe here, getting one whack. Getting the remaining hits here. It's usually easier to hit Ganon when he's facing down like this than it is when he's facing up.
Yeah, I have to imagine the red bottle has been used at this point.
Yeah, I can't imagine somebody sitting on one heart like this for the Ganon fight if they don't have to. And speaking hard mode, it's also definitely not the case that he has a fairy in a bottle, because in hard mode enough, it's impossible to have a fairy in a bottle. The game just doesn't allow it.
Yeah, you can't catch any fairies with your net.
Yep, and you'll also never find them in a bottle to begin with. Just another one of those weird quirks.
Trenter here just deciding to not get the glitch to set up Ganon here for this triple. Unfortunately doesn't get it.
Yeah, this got plenty of magic and plenty of money to spare on any possible misses on Ganon. Just needs to get that final shot in. There we go. Ganon is down for Trenter TR as well.
I do decide to see through to the end. So we'll finish with an official SRL time of 2 hours, 17 minutes and 9 seconds.
Yep, GG. And Trenter has also joined us here in the commentary booth. GG, Trenter. Nice for you to actually finish out the seed.
Yeah, GG. Yeah, I wanted to finish the seed because, yeah, I played it badly, not the seed, so I have to go through it and learn out of mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always enjoy finishing seeds myself too, regardless of whether I win or lose. Yeah, things didn't end up working out too well for you. A lot of unnecessary double dips ended up happening, which you were hoping for something to be somewhere, and turned out to be somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm ignoring the fact of Skyward's in part triple dipping, but yeah.
Yeah, what really ended up costing you some time there was looked like you forgot about the smiths and such being a thing once you got the Titan smiths, because you checked literally everything else first and then checked your map for a little bit and then was like, oh right, I have to do this still.
Yeah, it was basic. I totally forgot when I got the mids. Like when I got the mids out of pod, I was like, okay, nothing is in here anymore. I was like immediately, okay, this is the choke point I was in, because I actually don't wanted to go into pod the whole time. And then like got the mids and I was like, okay, now I have options. It's probably in Maya or somewhere, or on Dark Death Mountain.
Yeah.
Totally forgot the Smith quest, and yeah, that blocked.
The hammer packs and the smiths were basically the two most important things after those mids to unlock the rest of this suit.
Yeah, it wasn't fun, but hey, it can happen. And next time I know, Smiths are unlocked with mids.
Yep, they are. And well, from those mistakes we learn and get better. So there's always time for improvement.
Indeed, indeed.
No, you unfortunately cannot qualify for the bracket stage, but you still have 2 more matches, I believe, left in the group. So
Yeah, I knew that like 2 races before this, I knew already that if I want to qualify, I actually have to hope that someone else loses. And yeah, then after the race versus Kyong yesterday, I was like, okay, now he has to lose 2 times, and I'm like, I don't see that actually going in his last 2 matches. And then I did go in here and was like, okay, Kyong, let's see, 10-0. Well, I can try, but I already was aware that I will not make the brackets. But hey, 96th, I did not expect to make the brackets at any point.
Mhm. Yeah, it still must have been fun to be able to actually participate in the group stages, though. How have you been enjoying the setup we've had going here?
Oh, it's interesting. I have to really say, the only one thing that I kind of found, let's say, uninteresting was sadly the Randomizer options. But yeah,
Yeah, that's I can definitely understand that. We didn't want to go too far with it because it was relatively new and untested at the start of the tournament.
yeah, I see that's fair. Especially like inverted couldn't be combined with key sanity, which actually makes inverted way easier, in my opinion. But yeah. It's such some rules we have to do, and then
Yeah,
I kind of found the retro mode because of this tournament, because I never did retro beforehand.
Yeah, I think that's
And-
true for a lot of people, actually.
Yeah, and it's actually pretty fun, especially these take any caves like 3 I had in Kakariko this time.
Mhm. Yeah, this seat was really generous with health early on, which you don't often see in hard mode.
So yeah, I really like the idea of retro, even though I hate the amount of money you need to spend for silvers. That's mostly the reason why I play on hard, so I don't even have to bother thinking about that.
Yeah. I mean, this particular random reroll suit works out well for you too in that case.
Yeah, I just hope I never find the bow somewhere where I, like next to a fire rod on laser bridge or something, like yesterday twice.
Mhm. Yeah, and on Cold Star in this particular case, which also isn't the most delightful occasion for the bow.
After yesterday, this is way more pleasant.
Yep.
Yesterday, 2 races, both of them ended up fire rod on laser bridge.
Yeah, that's unfortunate when it's piles up twice in a row like that.
Yeah, in the exact same chest. I really wasn't happy.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Because if it happens once in a seat, you're like, well, surely it can't happen on this second seat. And then if it happens again, you're like, well, okay, sure. Thank you, game.
Yeah, randomizer in a nutshell.
I believe this is a good time for us to round out things. So, Kyong, if you are still here, do you have any final words to share with us?
No, not really. Just thank you for the restream, commentary, and tracking. I didn't actually expect to be restreamed today because it's kinda so many restreams in a row these past few days.
What can I say? I guess we just like having your matches restreamed. And Trenter, any final words from you?
Yeah, I want to say GG to Kyong. Represent Group J in the brackets, please, for us. And thank you for to the commentators, trackers, and restreamers for helping out.
Group J, best group.
Of course, a big thanks to our tracker, our Sigma, for helping out behind the scenes. I believe we do have some matches going on right now over on Speed Gaming 3, Ponta versus T-Stew14. Started like 20 or so minutes ago. So just jump over there if you haven't already. Be sure to follow all of our Twitch channels at Speed Gaming 1 through 6 and ALTTP Randomizer 1 through 5. And with all said and done, I've been Marjevich.
I've been the dude.
And we'll see you all in the not too distant future.
Yep. See you next time, everybody.